Weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making us the fastest growing news website in the nation. Because the truth matters, and so do you.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. On the M4 in South Gloucestershire, lanes are closed between junctions 18 and 17 due to a traffic incident, causing 30-minute delays. Cheshire East's M6 southbound entry slip at junction 19 has lane closures due to a collision. The Norfolk A47 westbound is closed after a multi-vehicle incident, causing hour-long delays. The A9 northbound at Cairney Bray is partially blocked by a broken-down vehicle. And on the trains, major disruptions continue across the Great Northern Network, with severe delays in Wimbledon and between Guildford and Havant. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
This is your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner to date. £85,000 in totally tax-free cash could be making its way from our bank account to yours. It would be like having over £7,000 per month extra to play with each month for a whole year. That could be you, safe in the knowledge that 2026 is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
A very, very good evening to you and welcome to Farage. With me tonight, your host, Martin Daubney. Coming up on tonight's action-packed show.
To this inquiry, the government must act now to ensure that they and their families are supported so they can heal.
Today, the Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch, has unveiled her own terms of reference for the Grooming Gang's inquiry as it continues to find itself torn apart by controversy. Maggie Oliver joins me very shortly. And meanwhile,
a one-nation experiment in open borders, conducted on a country that voted for control.
As 2 Afghan illegal immigrants who raped a 15-year-old girl in Warwickshire are named and sentenced. I'll be joined by the man who revealed the huge disproportionality of Afghan sex crimes in the UK and discuss why it might be time for a Trump-style travel ban list.
Free speech in this country has been for a very long time. We're very, very proud of it. We will protect it forever.
And on tonight's show, I'll also be joined by the former Royal Marine veteran who's been banned from working with children simply because he protested against illegal immigrants, as it is alleged that safeguard concerns are being deployed against people with patriotic views. And finally, on tonight's show.
I know it's not easy being a trans kid in our country today. The trans community is at the wrong end of all of the statistics for mental ill health, self-harm and suicide.
Today, a group of cross-party MPs have written a letter to the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, demanding the NHS's controversial puberty blocker clinical trials for children is immediately stopped and that questions must be answered. I'll be joined by Reform MP Sarah Pochin, who signed that letter. And that's all to come on tonight's show, but first, here's your latest news headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you, Martin. Good evening to you. 2 minutes past 7 here in the GB newsroom. Two 17-year-old Afghan asylum seekers have been detained for the rape of a teenage girl in May. Jan Yahanzeb was given 10 years and 8 months, with Israr Niazal, who's on the right of your screen, sentenced to 9 years and 10 months for the attack which took place in Leamington Spa. The court heard the pair led a highly distressed 15-year-old victim into a secluded parkland area before attacking her. The judge at Warwick Crown Court earlier lifted reporting restrictions protecting their identities because it could lead to speculation which might see innocent people being targeted. An NHS nurse who complained about sharing a changing room with a transgender doctor has won part of her employment tribunal. Sandy Peggy was suspended from her job in Fife after confronting Dr Beth Upton, a biological male who identifies as a woman, in 2023. The doctor subsequently made an allegation of bullying and harassment. Well, the tribunal ruled Miss Peggy herself was harassed by NHS Fife, but has dismissed all other claims against the Health Board and against Dr Upton. Sir Keir Starmer's concluded talks with the leaders of Ukraine, France and Germany aimed at ending the war against Russia. Downing Street says the leaders discussed the importance of the US-led peace talks for European security, but reiterated Ukraine's need for robust security guarantees to protect against future Russian aggression. They highlighted progress towards using frozen Russian assets to support Ukraine's reconstruction and also the need to ramp up economic pressure on Vladimir Putin to bring to an end what they called his barbaric war. 2 more people have been arrested following a pepper spray incident at London's Heathrow Airport. It took place yesterday morning when a woman was robbed of her suitcase in a multi-storey car park at Terminal 3. A 24-year-old man in Lambeth has been arrested on suspicion of robbery and assault, and a 23-year-old woman on suspicion of conspiracy to commit robbery. That's in addition to the 31-year-old man arrested yesterday on suspicion of robbery and assault. He has been released while police continue their inquiries. Former Premier League footballer Joey Barton's been sentenced to 6 months in custody, suspended for 18 months for sending offensive social media posts. Barton's posts were aimed at the broadcaster Jeremy Vine and football pundits Lucy Ward and Eni Aluko. He referred to Vine using a slang word for a paedophile and called the football pundits, he compared them to Rose and Fred West, the serial killers. The judge called Barton's attacks targeted, extreme and harmful, adding they were racially aggravated. Around 90,000 people in Japan have been told to evacuate after a large earthquake off its northeastern coast triggered a tsunami warning. The country's meteorological agency warned that the 7.6 magnitude quake could lead to waves of up to 10 feet high. That's now been downgraded, though, to an advisory, meaning lower waves and less risk of inundation. Authorities say the epicentre was located around 50 miles off the coast of Japan at a depth of 30 miles. And they say the country suffered 3 further earthquakes since that initial one hit. Japan's Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, says a response team has been established to assess the damage and assist with evacuation efforts. And those are your headlines. Now it's back to Martin.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you, Aaron, and welcome back to Farage with me tonight, your host, Martin Daubney. Now, earlier on today, the Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch, unveiled her party's proposed terms of reference for the grooming gang's national inquiry.
That a national inquiry must leave no stone unturned. It must investigate councils, the police and even the government if necessary. It must be time limited and it must consider the role of ethnicity, religion and other cultural factors.
Well, the inquiry itself has been practically torn apart. It has been unable to find someone to chair it, along with several survivors quitting the victims panel after a row unfolded over the inquiry's scope being drawn too widely. But as many have argued, perhaps it was doomed to fail from the very, very start, considering this was the Prime Minister's original position on having one inquiry back in January.
Calling for inquiries because they want to jump on a bandwagon of the far right.
Jumping on the bandwagon of the far right, but with the inquiry now in a state of total uncertainty, along with the original recommendation suggesting there was a disproportionate number of Pakistani heritage men amongst the perpetrators, will this inquiry heed the calls of the victims and investigate the role of ethnicity and culture in the grooming gangs scandal? Well, I'm delighted now to be joined by Maggie Oliver, the grooming gangs whistleblower and the campaigner. Maggie, welcome to the show. It's always a pleasure to have your company. There's a certain sense of Groundhog Day about today, Maggie, a certain sense of déjà vu. Once again, games of politics being played as this inquiry once again seems to have just ground to a practical halt.
Good evening, Martin. Yeah, it's very much like, we're going round and round in circles with this. And I listened to Kemi Badenoch today. They are playing politics with this topic, and caught in the middle of it are victims and survivors who have been desperately fighting for the truth to come out for decades. What I find abhorrent in a way is that, we've got Kemi Badenoch now. The Conservatives were in power from 2010 to 2024. And when the last national inquiry reported in over 3 years ago now and made 20 recommendations, they failed to put them into practice. We've got this, ping pong ball between them all trying to score points. I'd like to say, though, Martin, that I don't engage in the noise. The victims and the survivors have got their voices, and Fiona, Elizabeth, Eliane and Jess, they have used their voices very well and resigned. They've had horrendous abuse. But from the perspective of me and my charity, we've just heard today that we are being given leave to appear in the High Court in London on the 3rd of February 26, because we've taken this existing government to a judicial review to try to force them to implement the 20 recommendations that the other original National Abuse Inquiry ordered. That was 7 years, £200 million. And what I would say, if the Conservatives had implemented those recommendations 3 years ago, we now wouldn't have this national scandal. So they're all playing games with this, but I am not going away until we know the ethnicity. We do know, but what I want is that we record the data from now on with every rape, every element of child abuse that goes on by these gangs. Without the data, without the facts, we are constantly going around this same hamster wheel. And the question has to be, why? Why on earth do we not just get a grip? The whole country knows that these gangs are predominantly Pakistani Muslim men. Now, I have never said that all abuse in this country is by these gangs. Most abuse is in the home. But I have never seen any other kind of child abuse tiptoed around where perpetrators are cherry-picked. There are political manoeuvrings going on here to cover up what has been going on for decades. And the public are sick and tired of what we see. I mean, in 2013, I sent a report to the government, to the Home Office, and calling for ethnicity to be recorded then. That's 12 years ago. And we are still having these same conversations, which are pointless. Let's get a grip, get the facts, deal with it, understand it, and protect the future generations of children. And I have the greatest admiration for Fiona and for all the, Eliane, Elizabeth, for sticking their necks on the block. Because what I believe was happening with this new inquiry, I have great respect for Louise Casey, and I hope that she gets centrally involved in rewriting what is going to come. But what I believe the Labour government were trying to do was to play off one set of survivors against another. water down this inquiry so that we include all kinds of abuse. And that is not what this is meant to be. We are looking at grooming gangs. It is the only kind of abuse that I've ever seen that has been covered up by the state. You know, Martin, we had cover-ups in the Catholic Church, in the Church of England, but the church themselves covered that up. In relation to these grooming gangs, it's not just been the community from which they come that's covered it up. It's been the police, social services, councils, politicians. This is the only area of abuse that I have seen this happen, and it has to stop. So let's stop playing games. Let's get a grip and do it properly.
OK, Maggie Oliver, we have to leave it there. Thank you once again for your passion and being on the show tonight. Maggie Oliver, it's always a pleasure to have your company. Thank you very much and a very Merry Christmas to you. Nigel Nelson, I'm joined by you tonight. It's Monday. Welcome to the show. Let's pick up on another story that happened earlier on today, and that is the Pakistani government is refusing to accept back rape gang rapists into the country unless the British government agrees to release political dissidents who almost certainly will face abuse in their country. Nigel Nelson, we saw before the Pakistani government demanded an airline flight pathway be reopened to the UK. A government consistently laying down terms and conditions, and they won't take back their own worst criminals. I say to you, enough of this soft talking, enough of this soft soaping. A strong government would cease all visas today from Pakistan unless they took their garbage back.
Well, I think that's open for a negotiation. It's certainly what Shabana Mahmood is threatening on a number of countries, and Namibia being one, Congo being another.
But these are minnows in comparison.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Has she got the guts to take the fight to Pakistan?
Well, I mean, we've established the principle of actually doing it. So what it means is if people won't take back their criminals, then they won't get visas for their citizens to come here. And in the case that you've just outlined there, that is what should happen to Pakistan. I don't believe for one moment that we would send back political dissidents to Pakistan. So the whole point is, what are they going to do about our criminals, which they ought to be taking back?
But why are they consistently taking the knee, if you get me, to a country that's just laying down consistent terms? It's like grow a pair. Actually say to them, no. We are going to dictate this political conversation. You have no right to lay down any terms and conditions. Consistent, repeated, systemic rape of white working-class girls by ostensibly Pakistani Muslim heritage men, and we don't have a government with the stones to stand up to them.
Well, we don't know that yet, do we? I mean, this has just happened, and what I'm saying to you is that I cannot believe our government would send back dissidents. Therefore, the next stage is it's in Pakistan's court. If Pakistan won't take back their nationals...
Well, they've already said they won't. Well, unless they lay down terms. First, they've got an airline pathway. The government took the knee and bowed to that. Now they're demanding dissidents. That won't ever happen. This is a government that won't deport Albanians who don't like chicken nuggets.
Well, hang on. We've got to deal with Albania. So, I mean, 90% of channel crossings by Albanians have ceased. So the Albanian deal has actually worked. Better to try and negotiate a deal than start being hard-headed about it. But eventually, we have to actually use the big stick, and the big stick would be visas.
Is that ever likely to happen? How many times have we had this conversation? This has been going on now for decades. People are still being jailed this week, for the systemic rape of British girls that goes back to the late 1980s. We know that they are overridingly from these communities in Britain, and we still have the same old conversation.
Yeah, but they've got to be Pakistani nationals before you can actually send them back. So
two of them are. They've rescinded their own nationalities to dodge deportation.
Yeah, in which case we're stuck with them. But if it is a Pakistani national who is a criminal, of course they should go back.
But that doesn't happen.
Well, the law is changing to make sure that it does happen. So we still have to get the country at the other end to accept them, and there's got to be a prison van at the airport to actually pick them up. So there's still a way to go, but we can change the law here, which means that they will go with sentences over a year, and they go immediately. They go immediately on conviction.
Well, hasn't happened yet. Hope springs eternal. Nigel Nelson, thank you very much for joining us. We're coming up in just a moment's time.
A one-nation experiment in open borders, conducted on a country that voted for control.
Yes, there's 2 illegal Afghan immigrants, small boat immigrants, who raped a 15-year-old girl in Warwickshire and named. I'll be joined by the man who revealed the huge disproportionality of Afghan sex criminals in the UK and discuss why it might be high time for a Donald Trump-style travel ban list. That's next.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Farage. With me tonight, your host, Martin Daubney. Now, before the break, we were discussing grooming gangs, and friends of GB News have been voting in today's You Decide poll for free by scanning the QR code. We've been asking, has the grooming gangs inquiry let the victims down? And the results are in. And 99% of you say yes, they have been let down. Only 1% agree that they've been treated fairly. Welcome back with me, Martin Daubney. And today, a judge has lifted reporting restrictions protecting the identities of 2 Afghan asylum seekers aged 17 who raped a teenage girl, a 15-year-old, in Warwickshire. Now, Jan Jahanzeb and Isra Nizal, who both crossed the channel as unaccompanied minors, attacked the girl in a park in Leamington Spa in May. They've been sentenced to youth detention terms of 10 years and 8 months and 9 years and 10 months, respectively. The 17-year-olds were living in taxpayer-funded accommodation in the affluent Warwickshire town at the time. Well, our next guest, Rob Bates of the Centre for Migration Control, has previously run the data on Afghan nationals, showing they are 22 times more likely than British citizens to have committed sex crimes. I'm now joined by the Research Director at the Centre for Migration Control, Rob Bates. Rob, a truly, truly horrific case. The victim impact statement on the show I was read out to by Mark White when it broke. It brought me basically to tears. Brutal, horrible sexual assault on a 15-year-old. And it's something, Rob Bates, you and I have talked about many, many times over these past months and, in fact, years now. There seem to be nationalities with a greater propensity to commit violent sexual offences on British soil. My question to you is simple. Is it time to use that data and start limiting those who are allowed into our country in the first place?
I think it's essential that we start to recognise there is a very serious problem here. The reason why we've spoken about crimes, sex crimes in particular, committed by Afghan males is because there have been so many reported in recent months. Of course, last month we had an Afghan admit to raping a 12-year-old in Nuneaton. The month before we had a vulnerable teenager being raped by an Afghan in North Scotland. That individual pled guilty or was found guilty as well. So there's been a procession of these stories in a very short period of time. And the data does show, as you pointed out, in 2021, Afghan males 22 times more likely to be convicted of a sexual offence than a Brit. And then if we even compare Afghan males to males of other migrant groups, we can see huge discrepancies. We can see that they're 28 times more likely to be convicted than French people and over 100 times, 135 times more likely to be convicted for sexual offences than Australians. So there's a real pattern here that the data does show us. And I think it is essential that we follow in a similar vein to what Donald Trump is looking to introduce in the United States, where we recognise that certain nationalities, especially those from cultures that are so distant from our own and have a very, very different degrading attitude towards women and girls, are effectively barred from entering the country. I also think we need to look at what has happened with the number of Afghans arriving on small boats in recent years and the ridiculously high grant rate that we have for those individuals claiming asylum, and start to review some of them. I don't think the Labour government will go anywhere near such a solution, but I think it's imperative that come 2029 and hopefully the arrival of a centre-right government, we start to look not just at completely ending the flows of individuals into the country, but also those that perhaps the hapless and witless Home Office have allowed to stay on really, really spurious grounds.
Rob Bates, we consistently talk about the battle for authentic and accurate data on this show. The government doesn't seem to want to supply it. Why not? What are they afraid of? Surely the number one protection of any government is to protect its own citizens and to protect our borders, and particularly to protect our women and girls. Why won't they give us the data to allow us to make data-driven decisions? What are they so afraid of?
It would reveal just how woeful they have been at conducting an open border experiment that has been imposed on the British public with no democratic mandate, but also it would just show how much of a failure that department is. This is a department that knows effectively nothing about the impact of one of the single most eventful and far-reaching policies that have been conducted on this country in recent years. I mean, we have 19,000, for instance, foreign national offenders who, rather than being deported at the end of their sentence, have just been released into the community. The Home Office doesn't know where these individuals are. It doesn't know actually the crimes for which these individuals were committed, and it doesn't know what prospect it has of removing them. This is a department that is wholly dysfunctional. And if they actually were to reveal to the British public the sheer scale of their successive mess-ups, then I really think actually we would have a complete breakdown of trust. I mean, we are arguably already on the precipice of that, but I really think it would reveal to British people just how badly and poorly managed our country has been by a political class and a civil service class that are more interested in their own liberal pursuits than actually putting the national interest first.
Rob Bates, I think you're exactly right. Thank you very much for joining us. That's the Research Director of the Centre for Migration Control, Rob Bates. Nigel Nelson in the studio. Let's get some reaction to that. Are we at the tipping point now? And bearing in mind that the defendant of one of these rapists today admitted himself, this is the lawyer representing one of these Afghan rapists, admitted that the footage that this 15-year-old took was a 3-minute video of her abduction before she was sexually assaulted, violated for the first time in her life by 2 illegal immigrants who threw their passports overboard, lied about their age, played the entire game, damaged this girl potentially forever. They said themselves the footage was so damning it could spark riots, and yet the defendant, the lawyer, was defending them. The truth is out now. They've been named. I think a lot of people think that's the right thing to do. But how many more of these cases can we stand before we start saying, do you know what? We need a complete ban or at least severe limitations on the number of Afghans and so on coming into our nation.
I don't think we have to follow Donald Trump on absolutely everything. And so I'm not sure a total...
Why not?
Well, simply because, well, I don't think Donald Trump is right for a start. I mean, if you're talking about, we've got 230,000 people in this country that come from the countries that Donald Trump would ban them from. So there's bound to be a number of bad apples within that cohort. 1 in 4 working age adults in this country have a criminal record. So it is likely that's going to happen. So I don't think a total ban is the answer. In this case, it is an absolutely horrific case. One of these boys has already been served with deportation papers. He'll be out of the country after serving, well, probably less than a third of his sentence and sent straight home. The other one used a legal loophole to be able to stay here because he's 17. So
we don't know he's 17. He told us he was 17. He could be older. Well, we have no way of knowing. They throw that passports in the channel.
You're absolutely right. He could be older. This was the assessment that was made by the authorities, and they declared that he was 17. And what he did was that a day before he would have actually been thrown out of the country or be eligible to be thrown out of the country. Yeah, he made a
to dodge deportation.
Exactly. That's what he did.
Gaming the system on the way in, gaming the system in prison, raping British children.
But it's the law, and we have to have a cut-off point at some point in the law, and he was able to take advantage of that particular cut-off point.
OK, thank you very much, Nigel Nelson. Coming up in just a moment's time, I'll be joined by the former Royal Marine who's been banned from working with children simply because he protested against illegal migrants, and it's alleged that safeguarding concerns are being deployed against people with patriotic views. That's next.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The unsettled conditions arriving across the UK tomorrow will also be influencing other western areas of the Mediterranean. In fact, the rain band will extend all the way down into parts of northwestern Spain, Portugal and Madeira. Central areas of the Mediterranean, though, faring off best with some fairly decent fine and calm conditions. But we do have further showers across the far east, particularly around areas of Cyprus. For many areas, though, the week ahead does look generally dry and sunny.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. For the next 24 to 36 hours, Storm Bram is likely to cause some problems. We have warnings in place for both wind and heavy rainfall. The storm system still down to the southwest. It's been intensifying all through the day, and the rain already setting in across the southwest of England, spreading up into parts of Wales. We've had a lot of rain here recently, so this extra rainfall, we could see 100 millimetres more rain falling over the hills, is likely to cause some problems, potentially for some flooding. Warnings extending further north as the rain pushes further north. Most areas turning wet by morning time. It's going to be a pretty warm night across the south and increasingly windy. So warnings in place for Tuesday for both wind and rain as this weather system steadily pushes northwards. The rain may actually start to ease across some parts of the south, but further heavy pulses over the hills of southwest England and South Wales likely to cause further issues. An awful lot of rain falling over northern England, southern Scotland for that morning rush hour. So that is likely to cause a lot of spray, a lot of surface water. And then the winds really start to strengthen. I mean, they'll pick up tonight around the coast of Wales and southwest England, but strengthening further during Tuesday. You can see the swirl, that's the low pressure, that is Storm Bram, bringing particularly gusty winds through Tuesday afternoon over Northern Ireland and then strengthening into the evening over western parts of Scotland. We'll see something a bit drier developing over parts of England and Wales, maybe even some sunny spells, and the temperatures up into 15, 16 degrees, but obviously not feeling all that mild with the rain and those winds, which probably peak in the northwest of Scotland during Tuesday evening. That's why we've got an amber warning in place here. Damaging gusts of wind 70, 80, perhaps 90 miles an hour, likely to cause some disruption. The potential for power issues, strong winds across much of northern Britain through Tuesday evening as well. For the full details of all of those weather warnings, visit the Met Office website.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
And welcome back to Farage with me, your host, Martin Dorby. Now, a former Royal Marine has been banned from working with children after he protested against illegal migrants. Jamie Michael, an Iraqi war veteran, was barred from coaching his daughter's football team after he posted a video online following the Southport murders where he describes some migrants as scumbags. Now, despite being cleared by a jury within 18 minutes, Jamie admitted he had spoken clumsily in the video. A local safeguarding board ruled that Mr. Michael as unsuitable to work with youngsters. I'm now joined by the man himself, the former Royal Marine, Jamie Michael. Jamie, welcome to the show. I'm delighted to have you on. I've been trying to get hold of you all day. You're the man of the moment. Some people, Jamie, would just believe that this is an incredible injustice. You were cleared by a jury, and yet you've been deemed too right-wing to work with children.
Yeah, exactly. It was a shock to me, Martin, after being found not guilty, just to find just weeks later having a letter from the safeguarding board saying that they felt that their decision to ban me was substantiated, even though that, the evidence they looked at in that meeting was incorrect as well. They didn't seem to have even looked at my video, didn't seem to take into account the court case itself and the acquittal within 17 minutes. None of that was taken into account when they made that decision. There was numerous errors in the evidence. The police officer that attended the meeting actually said that the racial element of the charge had got dropped and that I had been charged with it was distribution of threatening, abusive and insulting words or images that were likely to cause harassment, alarm and distress. And now, I don't know where she's got that from, but there was multiple errors. Actually, during my court case as well, in the evidence that was submitted to the court, the name of my video was wrong. There was errors in the transcript. And for my first two solicitors, the video wouldn't even work. The video was unworkable. It was just buffering on this portal where they post the evidence.
Jamie, you've admitted that your words were clumsy. You've expressed regret for some of the things you said. But here's the point. You're not allowed to even coach your daughter in her football team. And as I understand it, we had Lord Toby Young on the show earlier on, the director of the Free Speech Union. He's helping you to take your case to court now. I mean, how can you get to a situation where you're not even allowed to be on a football pitch with your own daughter?
Exactly, and they actually said that I was still allowed to come and watch my daughter training, but my behaviour would be monitored on the side of the field. And I just thought that was absolutely ridiculous. I've been coaching there for 3 years. There had never been any prior problems leading up to that. They said that I had been a good coach. I was good with the girls, and there was nothing. I passed all the DBS checks. There was nothing, and even in the panel meeting that decided that I wasn't suitable anymore to coach children. All the coaches that knew me there all said good things about me and never once said that it was a problem with myself.
Jamie, do you believe that we're in a country now where you were acquitted by a jury? You were acquitted very quickly, and yet the authorities seem to have still taken the position that you're guilty?
Yeah, well, I think, the establishment didn't like my decision because it proves that if you put someone like myself in front of a jury, you're likely to get that not guilty verdict. and now they're just trying to punish me in other ways, just through the safeguarding board. And you know, it's taken a lot away from me, taking the opportunity for me to you know, be in football with my daughter. I've got another daughter that will be coming through soon, and she'll want to be playing football. And that's taken that away from me. And you know, I put a lot into football myself. I've been an ex kind of semi-professional footballer. I signed with Manchester United as a kid. I still play veterans. I still play for the Welsh veterans now. And yeah, it's just a massive overreach, I think, just because to me, it feels like they're acting like spoiled kids that didn't get their own decision. So they're trying to you know, punish me in other ways.
And Jamie, Michael, what kind of an impact has this had on you? You're prepared to risk the ultimate price, you know, your life, fighting for your country, and now you're being treated like you're a scumbag.
Well, I said I've got 3 operational medals. I've you know, been willing to put my life down on the line multiple times for this country, and then to have this happen to me. And you know, the ironic thing was that I was looking out for the children in the first place. I just wanted to try and get a community meeting that we could so that we could try and implement some security on the schools and parks, because last summer, you know, we had the Southport riots, but leading up to that, we had riots in Leeds and Manchester, and I just felt things were getting out of control. So the first thing I was thinking about was the kids, how we can keep the kids safe, because they are, you know, they were the ones that got attacked in the Southport murders, and you know, they're easy targets, kids. So that's what I was thinking to.
Okay, Jamie, Michael, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us. I understand you're suing the authorities for £25,000 for breaching your human rights. But of course, keep GB News updated fully on that case as it continues its journey towards court. Thank you, former Royal Marine Jamie Michael, for joining us. Nigel Nelson, quick reaction to you, from you to that. It seems astonishing that a decorated veteran is being treated like some sort of pariah.
Yeah. However, there's a lot we don't know. So what happened was the safeguarding board met after his acquittal and decided that he should be banned from being a coach of the girls' football team. We don't know the reasons behind that decision. And the reason we don't know is because Jamie is suing them and the whole thing will be taken to court. When it appears in court, we will hear why the safeguarding board made that decision, and the court will decide whether that decision should be upheld.
But this is the case of a jury clearing a man in just 17 minutes. But the authorities here don't seem to want to take that. No. As a fait accompli. They seem to feel like they know better.
But this is the point I'm making about we don't know what happened at that second hearing at the safeguarding board, why they took that decision, whether it was purely based on what Jamie had actually said previously, or whether there are other reasons. We will find out when it gets to court.
Lord Toby Young was on my show earlier on between 3 and 6, and he said that there are at least 12 similar cases. There's a feeling that people are being punished by the authorities for having the wrong kind of opinions, the right-wing kind of opinions.
Well, I mean, nobody should be punished for their political opinions unless they're incredibly extreme. If they are promoting neo-Nazism or preaching a communist revolution, those are the kind of things that I think would bar you from being with children. No, your political opinions shouldn't come into it, but the point I'm making here is we don't know why that decision was taken by the safeguarding board.
It's not the first time this has happened, and it won't be the last time.
We don't know there's other cases either. We don't know what's behind those other cases until we know the full facts. You can't decide whether a safeguarding board has taken the right decision or the wrong decision.
Back in 2012, UKIP voters who were foster parents had their children taken away from them because they had the wrong kind of opinions. This isn't the first time, and it won't be the last.
No, but again, there are other reasons why these things happen. To actually simply say, oh, it happened for this particular reason, we don't know that, and certainly we don't know that in this case. And the same thing applies to those previous cases.
OK, Nigel Nelson, thank you very much. Now, a spokesman for the Safeguarding Board told GB News this. The Safeguarding Board and its multi-agency partners take its responsibilities very seriously. It'd be inappropriate for the board or its partners to comment any further at this time. Thanks to Nigel. Now, coming up in just a moment's time, a group of cross-party MPs have written a letter to the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, demanding the NHS's controversial puberty blocker clinical trial for children is immediately stopped and questions are answered. One of the signatories, Sarah Pochin, MP for Reform UK, joins me in the studio just a moment's time. That's next.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
And welcome back to Farage. With me tonight, your host, Martin Daubney. Now, for a long time, it was unclear whether the Prime Minister knew what a woman even was.
A woman can have a penis.
Nick, I'm not... I don't think we can conduct this debate with, you know...
Sorry, have I offended you in something?
No, it's just...
And then, after the Supreme Court ruling that declared sex was in fact biological, he appeared to change course on the matter once again. Indeed, the government indefinitely banned puberty blockers for children this time last year. But now it just turns out they're being trialled with children all over again. And a group of cross-party MPs have signed a letter addressed to Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, urgently calling for the trial to be paused before serious questions about the safety and the efficiency of drugs are answered. And I'm now joined in the studio by one of those cross-party MPs. That's the Reform MP, Sarah Pochin. And I'm also joined by GB News' senior political commentator, Nigel Nelson. Sarah Pochin, welcome to the show. Tell me, a lot of people watching this show will be astonished to even believe that these trials are still happening. I thought they'd been outlawed.
They should have been outlawed, and a year ago, Martin, on December in fact, it was exactly a year, December 2024, they were outright banned by Wes Streeting himself at the dispatch box, I believe. It was just before my time. But the point is, here they are. They've raised their ugly head again. I went to a meeting chaired by Wes Streeting. He's sanctioning now a trial into 200 children. There's no lower age limit, which means those children can be 7, 8, even younger. And the upper age limit is 16. And 200 children. Now, there was a bunch of clinicians were on this panel that Wes was chairing. And I said to them, if nothing else, introduce a lower age limit. They refused. They just wouldn't answer my question. And I said, also, please exclude already vulnerable young people. So those people that have been diagnosed with possibly ADHD, anxiety, depression, and those young people in the care system. And do you know what they said to me? It was spine-chilling. They said not only would they not exclude that group of people, but they were interested to compare the effects on children with those diagnoses compared to those children without. So this is human experimentation on our children.
It sounds like vulnerable young children being used as lab rats.
Yes.
On what basis can we justify treating children with hormones? Children, a lot of them still think that the moon is made of cheese.
These children still believe in Father Christmas. You know, and yet we are able to give them...
Father Christmas is real, by the way.
We're able to give them these drugs that Baroness Cass herself, who was there last week at this meeting, looking extremely uncomfortable. Because if you read what Baroness Cass said in her report following the Tavistock scandal, which I'm sure people will remember, she said that these drugs were not proven. The risk to mental health and to physical health was completely unknown. There was no data. And do you know what? These drugs were used on 2,000 young people back then leading up to the 2020 report. And no proper data was collected. That's a scandal in itself. So we're starting again with a new cohort of young people and doing it all over again.
Nigel Nelson, just get a quick comment from you. Children aren't lab rats. Why are they being experimented on?
Because that's exactly what Hilary Cass said. She said that these drugs should be tested in a research framework. Those were her exact words. And the whole point of this is because the Tavistock Clinic didn't do proper clinical trials. They're now going to do the clinical trials using drugs that were licensed back in the 1980s and have been used ever since for early puberty and used for prostate cancer as well. I mean, the drugs have got a multi-use. So the safety of the drug is not in question. The children will be monitored closely all the way through for brain, heart, bones to make sure there are no adverse effects. And the only way of finding out if these drugs will help such children is to have this trial.
I have to interject there, Nigel. We know that there is absolutely no evidence. In fact, it's worse. We think that there may well be long-term and irreversible effects and life-changing effects on bone density, brain development, which is effectively brain damage, the non-development of sexual organs, the complete lack of fertility later in life. And the whole thing, by the way, is irreversible.
Checked all the way through.
But this is not a safe trial. And Baroness Cass herself said that, you know, she's almost, I believe...
She approved the trial.
She has approved the trial, and I'm staggered because she looked extremely uncomfortable. And after everything else that's been documented about what she said after the last lot of evidence coming out of Tavistock, I'm absolutely amazed. And I'll tell you what this is about, in my opinion. This is about bowing down and kowtowing to the trans lobbyists, those trans activists who are so powerful now that I believe the left and the Labour Party are literally having to appease their demands to go through with these trials and sacrificing the state of our children on the way. And can I just say, as a mum of 2 boys, and it's not been easy, you know, my boys are mid-20s now, but we've had our ups and downs. I am absolutely sure that the vast majority of children who may be going through a distressed stage of their life through puberty will come out the other end with support and care and a stable home and just security. You don't need to give them all, puberty blocking drugs at the age of 8 years old.
Isn't that the point? Support children through care, through therapy. Nurture them, but don't medically experiment.
But that too, you do all those things. You do talking therapies. You see where they're going to, but also there's the other side of it: the harm to the children by not doing this. Some of these children will be severely depressed, will be self-harming. So the whole point of this is to find out at the end of this whether these drugs will actually do some good.
The other big issue I had was parental consent. So a lot of the children on these trials will be children in care. That became clearly evident. And I think one of the reasons they didn't want to take those out of the equation, as I suggested, because they're already vulnerable, is that if you take out children in care, I would imagine it really limits the cohort you've got to use, because that's what they're doing. But for those that do have parents, only one parent needs to give consent. So just imagine the split in a family over something so emotive as this, and the impact, the mental health impact on those children because of that.
OK, Sarah, thank you. State of the Nation, of course, is next. Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg is the host of that. Sir Jacob, I want to get your take on this. I know it's something you care passionately about. What's the notion of experiments on children was food full of horror?
It's absolutely outrageous, and there's no benefit to the child. The idea that turning a boy into a girl is good for the child is just nonsense, and it shouldn't be happening. Experimentation with drugs is done with cancer drugs, where if you don't take it, the alternative is death. The alternative for these children is life in the body into which they've been born. But I'll tell you what I also think. I also think Wes Streeting, who's been very sensible on this, has changed his position because he's looking at the leadership of the Labour Party. And he needs to win a lot of votes from the left of the Labour Party, and the left of the Labour Party are very keen on all this trans stuff, much influenced, as Sarah was saying, by the very powerful trans lobby. So Wes Streeting has moved to appeal to the left as he's gearing up for a Labour leadership election.
Nigel Nelson, that makes it worse.
It would be if it was true.
To be playing politics.
I don't believe a word of
children's
that.
safety.
I think what we're hearing is an objection about this, which is more ideological than medical. That's why this trial is taking place, because the experts have actually said that they
completely disagree with that. There is a general medical principle that you must do no harm, and there is no benefit from these drugs. There cannot be a benefit from these drugs. It's not like normal medical trials where you are stopping a disease. Wanting to change your sex is not a disease. It's a mental problem.
OK, and he's got a statement here. A spokesman for the Department of Health and Social Care told GB News this. It was implementing the CAS review, adding the bar for the UK clinical trial to be approved is extremely high, with the Pathways trial going through rigorous rounds of scientific, clinical, ethical and regulatory review. Dr Hilary Cass herself has welcomed this trial, with participation only eligible after rigorous checks and robust safeguards are in place. Jacob Rees-Mogg, State of the Nation, is up next. What's on your menu, sir?
We're going to be talking about Trump's warning to Europe in the new national security statement from the United States, tied in with Elon Musk's saying that the EU should really give up the ghost. And it's really important because the new strategy from America is very focused on American interest. And the question is, why don't we do the same? Why don't we have a national strategy that's about the interests of the United Kingdom, rather than all these foreign organisations, multinational organisations, giving away taxpayers' money and all that? So it's very interesting.
So Jacob Rees-Mogg, superb. Sarah Berchin, excellent. Nigel Nelson, wonderful as ever. I'll be back tomorrow, 3 till 6 p.m. Up next, State of the Nation with the legendary Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. For the next 24 to 36 hours, Storm Bram is likely to cause some problems. We have warnings in place for both wind and heavy rainfall. The storm system still down to the southwest. It's been intensifying all through the day, and the rain already setting in across the southwest of England, spreading up into parts of Wales. We've had a lot of rain here recently, so this extra rainfall, we could see 100 millimetres more rain falling over the hills, is likely to cause some problems, potentially for some flooding. Warnings extending further north as the rain pushes further north. Most areas turning wet by morning time. Going to be a pretty warm night across the south and increasingly windy. So warnings in place for Tuesday for both wind and rain as this weather system steadily pushes northwards. The rain may actually start to ease across some parts of the south, but further heavy pulses over the hills of southwest England and South Wales likely to cause further issues. An awful lot of rain falling over northern England, southern Scotland for that morning rush hour. So that is likely to cause a lot of spray, a lot of surface water. And then the winds really start to strengthen. I mean, they'll pick up tonight around the coast of Wales and southwest England, but strengthening further during Tuesday. You can see the swirl, that's the low pressure, that is Storm Bram, bringing particularly gusty winds through Tuesday afternoon over Northern Ireland and then strengthening into the evening over western parts of Scotland. We'll see something a bit drier developing over parts of England and Wales, maybe even some sunny spells, and the temperatures up into 15, 16 degrees, but obviously not feeling all that mild with the rain and those winds, which probably peak in the northwest of Scotland during Tuesday evening. That's why we've got an amber warning in place here. Damaging gusts of wind 70, 80, perhaps 90 miles an hour, likely to cause some disruption, the potential for power issues, strong winds across much of northern Britain through Tuesday evening as well. For the full details of all of those weather warnings, visit the Met Office website.
Expect warm spells